Hello, it's David again with Babylon 5, Season 1, Episode 16, titled Eyes. Now, I do want to let you guys know you might be hearing some weird sounds and stuff. My oldest cat has decided to grace us with her presence, and she oftentimes, besides licking my coffee cup, likes to talk during the middle of these sessions and be the center of attention. So, if you hear weird sounds, that's what's going on. Starts off with Michael Garibaldi assembling a motorcycle. Turns out he somehow got a hold of a 1992 Kawasaki ZX-11 Ninja, vintage 1992. When Lanier walks in to ask about Season1, the lady the poet that earlier gotten stamped with a pro, got stabbed and then branded with a pro-Earth message, Lanier wanted to make sure she had plenty of security this time. They end up talking back and forth, and Lanier ends up researching it and wants to help Garibaldi build it. Now, we switch over to a man that we'll learn is Ari Van Zane, and he's talking to Weyoun. Huh? The actor Jeffrey Combs, Weyoun, also, for this one he's called Harriman Gray. He is doing cameos and stuff during the middle of this. Interesting question I want to ask everybody. Do you think Jeffrey Combs will act or have anything to do with the new Babylon 5? Quite a few people I've seen suggest that maybe he will have something to do, a major part of Babylon 5. So, if you do think that, please put it down in the comments section. What do you think he's going to do? Is he going to do a couple cameos, or is he going to be a major part of the new Babylon 5 series? They're researching up on staff, and then we cue over to the entrance. Basically what happened is Sinclair, Garibaldi, and Ivanova are talking about Earth is concerned that Babylon 5 may become a transit point for terror groups like Free Mars, that they can get their arms and their bombs and everything else from that. The problem is the Babylon 5 treaty says that aliens are free to conduct arms deals on Babylon 5 as long as the transfer point transit, the actual exchanging of the arms, happens off station. So Babylon 5 is prohibited from doing anything. Well, Sinclair says, yeah, but we can always notify Earth of arrivals of suspected Free Mars terrorists, and also if they depart, and also any gun runners and anything else we know about. At first, Ari and his Harriman Gray run around Babylon 5 pretending that they're government suppliers, and they want to get information on Commander Sinclair and some of the other top groups. Well, this, of course, eventually gets to Michael Garibaldi, and it kind of hackles his, like, why are you guys, why not just go up and introduce yourselves? Why are you trying to do this sneaky-like and on the down low? Kiwan over. Lanier is researching on Earth's past and the history of motorcycles, and he's learning that it was a status symbol, a symbol of virility, and interestingly enough, the last motorcycle was made in 2035. So if you have a motorcycle, you've got about, 14 more years before they stop making them. So better hurry up and buy them out now. Michael Garibaldi confronts Mr. Gray in his quarters when Franks walks in, and they basically reveal that they are eyes, which I don't know. I've don't know if anyone in the military or who's a police officer can confirm this for me. My understanding is eyes means an internal investigation, particularly by police officers, into what's going on in their own, on their own police force. So he's investigating the command staff. And that Earth Force is investigating on all of their outposts, and they want all of their commanders and top staff to submit to telepathic scans. Now, under Earth Force law, that's technically illegal. You can't do that unless you're bringing specific charges against someone. You can't just scan everybody just for the hell of trying to find something. So Ivanova refuses a telepathic scan, and refuses it quite vociferously. And we find out later that one of the reasons why, not just because of her mother, but we find out that Ivanova is possibly a latent telepath. But more on that later. Lanier says he wants to help build the motorcycle, so Garibaldi says, okay, while I'm busy with my other stuff, I'll give you my passcode. Please don't bump into anything while you're there. And he says, trust me, you can rely on me being careful. The one question that I asked, or asking of myself when making this video or coming up to, what would you do if you were required to submit to loyalty checks with somebody that you just can't lie to? Okay? What would you do if, if your boss all of a sudden says, in order for you to keep your job, you have to submit to whatever questions I want to ask you, and by the way, I've got a telepath who knows instantly when you're going to lie. I mean, that would be really scary. And what might you say to keep your job, to keep them from probing your mind? There are certain private things in my life and in everybody's life we don't want divulged to other people. All I can say is thank goodness the internet didn't exist when I was a little kid, because I'm 49 now. But my goodness, the amount of embarrassment and humiliation, I wasn't always the smartest kid. Sometimes I did some really stupid things, and I don't have the internet to memorialize it. And luckily my friends growing up are in the same boat I am, so of course we have the bro code of silence of don't tell anybody what David did. And so I won't tell anybody what Chad or Alicia or Amy or Danielle or Teresa did. By the way, that is the first name of some of the people that I grew up with. Interesting thing when he and Garibaldi are, and he for some reason likes Michael Garibaldi, so he drafts Garibaldi onto his staff. He's like, why didn't Sinclair file an official protest on all of these things against the Vorlons? And says a rather humorous thing. Garibaldi says, protests with the Vorlons are about as much use as fairy wings on a cement truck. Heavily memmed, so I mentioned that. Another thing, Michael Garibaldi is coming in to excuse Lanier because he's very tired, and you see Lanier, the scene introduces Lanier's meditating, just, doing his Minbari meditation over the motorcycle, and Garibaldi comes in, politely kicks him out because he's had no sleep while conducting this internal investigation. Ivanova, we show, or it flips on over to Ivanova having a really bad nightmare involving her mother. And then as her mother is injected by these two guys, and they have face masks so you can't see them, and her mother gets injected with the sleepers. Well, she flips her hair down like this and flips it up, and it's Ivanova now. And that's basically what Ivanova would have to go through taking the sleepers, if it ever gets out that she's a latent telepath. So, of course, she's terrified, And the one way she can get out of it is to resign from Earth Force. Well, she tries to do that, but Sinclair politely refuses and says, look, I found a way within the regulations. Don't worry about it, girlfriend. I got your back. Well, it's interesting because Ari Van Zane makes a comment to Mr. Gray that Mr. Bester will appreciate any assistance. And Mr. Gray is like, well, what does Alfred Bester have to do with this? You know, kind of a slip of the tongue there. So Ari Van Zane tries to interview Commander Sinclair and have Mr. Gray there, and they have a very a contentious interview, to say the least, because at the end, Ari Van Zane relieves Sinclair of his duty and assumes command and charges him with crimes involving his time as commander of Babylon 5. We flip on over. Ivanova leaves her post because she finds out that Sinclair has now been placed under arrest, and it's basically she's looking at not being able to get out of being scanned, and so she basically leaves her post, bumps into Garibaldi. She ends up getting horribly drunk in the casino, and some dude is smart enough to try and start sexually harassing her in the bar, or in the casino, I should say. It turns out, Michael Garibaldi finds out that Ari Van Zane and Alfred Bester are friends, and that Ari Van Zane was also in the top 10 for heading up Babylon 5, but was rejected by the Minbari. Now, remember, some people in the military, in the inner circles, are convinced that Sinclair is working for the Minbari, and Alfred Bester kind of fed into that. So, we flip on over, and Ivanova gets into a major fight in the casino. Garibaldi comes and whisks her away. Sinclair, right before this final interview where they're supposed to be put on trial, Sinclair approaches Mr. Gray, the Psi Corps dude, about Ari Van Zane and Bester being friends. Now, we know that Bester has promised a measure of revenge against Sinclair for getting his comrade killed and going up against Psi Corps. So we all of a sudden see Ari Van Zane is goaded into a violent temper tantrum where he hits Harriman Gray and grabs a PPG. Now, the one thing I don't get, who would be stupid enough to try and do fisticuffs with someone that can read your brain? I mean, to me, that doesn't seem like a very smart thing, because what happens is Gray then says the word pain, and all of a sudden Ari Van Zane gets a severe headache. At that exact moment, Sinclair grabs the PPG and knocks him cold. So, as things are winding down and kind of getting back to normal, Michael Garibaldi, in one of the funniest scenes of Babylon 5, heavily memmed, Garibaldi returns home to find that Lanier has finished his motorcycle, but has the foresight to put a Minbari engine in it, because there's, you know, gasoline, he gave that up centuries ago because it was harmful to the environment. So, Michael Garibaldi, after initially kind of, oh, what have you done? I was supposed to finish that, dude. He says, you know what, let's go take it riding. And so this scene ends with Sinclair and Ivanova getting on a tube, saying they're glad things are getting back to normal. All of a sudden, Garibaldi and Lanier whisk by on the motorcycle. Also, there's another mem, Bill Mumy, Lanier, and the guy who played Marcus. They're sitting in the back of I want to say like a Mustang, and in kind of recreating that scene, but with Marcus and in a Mustang car. So That is also heavily memmed. So tell me in the comments below, what would you do if you were forced to? Are you the kind that says, hey, I've got nothing to hide, let them scan me all they want? Or are you the kind like me that would be very reticent in submitting to a blanket loyalty check to get or keep a job? So anyways, comment, like, subscribe, and share. Hope you all have a good rest of your day.